Hi, Kevin May, Editor-in-Chief of Phocuswire, joined by Sascha Meskendahl from Blacklane, hi, and Ian Coyle from HolidayTaxis. Welcome,
hi, Kev.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, a couple of years ago, ground transportation was one of the hottest sectors, and sadly you've been overtaken, it seems, by tours and activities. Everyone seems to talk about that, but ground transportation still seems to have so much more, a lot of potential for growth in terms of the way it fits in with the rest of the industry. Would you agree?
I would totally agree, and I wouldn't say actually that it's overtaken by tours and activities. I think it's more differentiated than it was in the past. So I think when it was so hyped, it was like this one size fit all, Uber will dominate the world, and I think it's now more differentiated, that there are different use cases, different solutions for different use cases.
And Ian, I mean, I hope I say this politely, you've been doing this a long time.
We've been doing this a very long time, Kev, yes.
And you've seen a lot come and go. I mean, where do you think we are in terms of the sector, ground transportation per se, and transfers and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. HolidayTaxis Group, 16 years in now, in terms of quantifying your long time. Absolutely, just for the record, agreeing with Sascha in terms of I don't think ground transportation has been overtaken by tours and activities. I actually see the two as very complementary. In terms of how our distribution partners and the end traveller would utilise both sets of product streams, really. In terms of coming and going, yeah, we've seen a few have a go. We've seen the new starts, of course, the very exciting world of the on-demand guys. Blacklane come into the market with their great high-quality product that we absolutely love and subscribe to ourselves within our own distribution chain. We're still scratching the surface, Kev, though. We really are.
So what would you say for you, HolidayTaxis now is your number one challenge?
The number one challenge, I think challenge right now, hot topics. We hear a lot of talk about disruption in the industry. We actually take a slightly different take around disruption right now, and we're probably looking more at inside industry, regulatory disruption. Just in terms of this hot topic on GDPR, right? Don't really want to dwell on GDPR, right? We'll all become compliant with new laws, regulations imminent. For us more so has been a challenge with our distribution chain around the 1 July introduction of the new package travel directive, European-wide. But actually how we contend with people not placed their businesses within the EU. We've spent a lot of time and effort, and I'm sure probably Sascha will speak for himself, of course, but with our distribution partners now becoming front line in the event of any consumer claim for any matter. Whereas in the past they could have passed it back to Sascha's business, to our own business at the HolidayTaxis Group, agents now liable. So we've actually we've invested just in terms of new forms of indemnification, where we'll stand behind loud and proud from a regulatory aspect. Distribution partners need reliability. What some new models in the industry don't give is regulatory reliability, stability if operating licenses are withdrawn in certain destinations. And this is good, this is not knocking the competition. New Start creates more appetite within the industry, the global industry for us, in terms of attention within the sector. And for maybe 10, for 12 years, this group, the HolidayTaxis Group, we were knocking on doors, trying to excite people about ground transportation. Let's stick with the Uber word, yeah, in terms of just the attention and the excitement that brand puts into our sector. We just find invigorating, truly still.
Okay, so I mean, Sascha, same question then, because I suspect it'll probably be a different answer. I mean, but the number one challenge for Blacklane is what?
For us, number one challenge is, for us it was always important, and we put a lot of efforts in being compliant wherever we operate, right? That's different to a lot of players that are out there. So it's not that much on being GDPR compliant, we were looking for that, but having that service promise that we give to our customers, this one consistent quality around the world, to keeping that with the huge growth that we see, like that the service experience you have in Tokyo is the same as in Bangkok, in Amsterdam, or in New York, and making sure that we always have that quality in place and grow as fast as we are as we are growing. So that's one of the big challenge, but that's also the big differentiator that we have in the market, and giving that service promise, and also giving the promise that we are actually the actual supplier. We will always took and will always take full responsibility for the ride. It's always a Blacklane ride, although it's not our driver or the driver's not on our payroll and we don't own the car, but like we always take full responsibility of the ride.
Okay. Now, interesting. I mean, distribution is, the nuts and bolts of what we write about, and you both have distribution strategies but they're very different. So we'll start with you. I mean, you've signed deals with a GDS, and you do things with airlines. I mean, what have been some of the difficulties associated with? You've got your consumer-facing business, but you've now got this kind of other part as well.
And I mean, for us, it's like we always said, like we want to be on all shelves because we strongly believe that we need to make the service as easy, bookable as possible. So we don't want to only make it seamless on the road, so that you directly from the plane get into the car and get home and offer that seamless, but also like have the service offering and the booking process as easy as possible. And we strongly believe in that we need to be where customers book travel. So let's say if you're booking your whole business trip with your TMC and they use the GDS and you place a booking for a flight and a hotel, you have all the information that you actually need to offer the seamless door-to-door experience by just one click, and you can actually recommend the customer to be on time at the airport, be picked up at 10 a.m., and then we track all the flights and make sure that the driver's there, although the flight arrives 1 hour earlier, and takes you to the hotel.
Yeah, tell me, just quickly before we move on to Ian, excuse me, you talk a lot about consistency of service. You want the car in Tokyo to be the same as the car in Amsterdam. When you're working with a third party, like a TMC or an airline, how do you try and get that consistency of service, marrying what you do as a Blacklane business with the airline or with the way the TMC works? Because they're different types of products, but good service is universal. So how do you guarantee that, if you can?
I mean, that's one of the challenges, making sure that with all the partners that we work, that we have our service presented as it is, right? And getting all the information that we need to offer that kind of service. And this is for us why it's so important to get from our partners the name, the phone number, the email address, for example, of the passenger that's in the car, that we can offer the service, so that we can send him the notification your driver has arrived, that we can send him the information of the name of the driver, so in any case that he can contact us. And this is like there are some things that are fundamental to offer our service, and this is something we require from our partners to get that kind of information, and then also make sure that they implement our policies, that the Blacklane promise, for example, with 1 hour, just 1 hour lead time, 1 hour free cancellation, that it's also transparent for the customer, that they know what Blacklane stands for.
Okay, and now, I mean, Ian, distribution for you is through tour operators and things like that. I mean, that particular element of what you do changed a lot over the recent years as there's been consolidation and they've put more focus on web sales and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of the tour operator and the high street travel agent, the bricks and mortar travel agent, it's absolutely where we built our business. Through the UK, through the Northern European source markets of Germany, the Netherlands, the Nordic territories. Maybe 5-6 years ago, we started to acquire, a little bit longer than that, but in terms of solution, we started to connect more heavily into the airlines, into the OTAs, really working with some powerhouse brands across Europe. 2-3 years ago, we sort of started to kind of almost lift and drop. We have a term internally that we use, repeatable excellence, that we built the business from a European source market perspective, but now where can we take that model? We actually think that we can take the model globally into the airline and the OTA space in particular, as the API connectivity, functionalities have grown, etc. That's where we really concentrate. But of course, we have different levels of maturity in different source markets around the world. Sascha refers to the Blacklane office in Singapore. It's another target market for the HolidayTaxis group. The UAE, the Indian territories, all becoming more and more dynamic in their approach to component-driven travel purchasing habits. And I think that's really where the ground transportation partners, the quality, reliable ground transportation partners, Blacklane included, not just because Sascha's sat here today, but guys that care about the quality, yeah, not beating about the bush. I hate to say this, I'm saying this out loud right now, but I think you talk about attention on this space, yeah? From an OTA, from an airline, from a travel agency perspective, there's a flight sold, there's a hotel sold. They may then concentrate on travel insurance, etc. Yeah, we have to fight to command our time. Yeah, we get one chance to get this right. It's got to be quality. It's got to be service driven, and I think that's what both of these two companies here do. Yeah, because if you get it wrong, you're not going to survive. You're not going to prosper.
Tell me, Ian, how have you? And we're talking a lot about service, which is quite right.
No, this is key.
But what about connectivity with your suppliers? I mean, that's probably changed a lot. I mean, how do you?
Oh, without a doubt.
How do you determine which supplier you should work with over another when their service is great and they're both equal?
Two key strands. People think that maybe price is the be-all and end-all in the first instance. No, definitely not. Yeah, I think working with a widespread distribution chain that we do on a global basis, we're dealing with a very low end of the market from a price point of view sometimes, but right through to TMC wanting a high-quality black car service. Yeah, in terms of that connectivity, married with the service credentials. Yeah, we have to have those SLAs around service, delivery, quality in place. Connectivity is critical, yeah. In terms of shortening that booking window down, taking that down into the 60 minutes territory, yeah, referred to, which we would complement as well, we have to have the end-to-end API connectivity. So we probably built the business more from a distribution API capacity in the first instance, but more so over the latter 3 to 5 years in particular, there's been a real drive within the HolidayTaxis group that we have to have supplier, we'll just simply refer to it as our supplier API connectivity. So we're split second, that we're sub-second, we're serving results sub-second all the way through the pipe and back.
Okay. Now, with Blacklane, Sascha, I mean, what's the split between the passengers, customers, sorry, guests, so let's call them guests. What's the split in the guests that are booking almost on demand versus those that are booking at the point when they book their flight or their hotel?
I mean, that heavily depends on where they make their travel arrangements, right? So our lead booking time on average is something around like 12 to 24 hours. So typically they make their travel arrangements
so it's pretty close.
We have, yes, I mean, we have 80% of our business is going to the airport or coming from the airport. And I mean, you have a lot of people that actually make their travel arrangements add ground transportation to that, but also what you referred to before, that's also an educational part to the passengers. So like add your transfers directly to it, and the easier you make it, the better you make it integrated. People tend to like add this transfer to that. Currently, I think the behavior is rather, and like I make my travel arrangements the day before for the next day, especially like business travelers. But we also see different kind of patterns, and it's a bit like weird situation when discussing about on demand, and I want to have that service on demand going to the airport, but no one is booking a flight or a hotel on demand. And it's like even more peace of mind saying, just make your whole door-to-door experience, add that to that, and you don't need even talk about on demand or is the service available in Buenos Aires or not. I just book the whole journey and It's out of my mind.
But that's against the, kind of current convention, isn't it? Because you've had the Uberization of on demand, and lest we forget taxis, they're on demand as well. So do you still think that you're trying to change people's thinking that they still need to book it when they book the flight?
No, they don't need to, but it's
but
like...
you would like them to? Would you like them to, or you don't care?
No, we don't care that much, but it's like it's just applying the data that you already have, and that's not even about talking about smart data. It's like if you have in GDS, you have all the information available, just passing that information to, I want to go from A to B at that day of time and coming with this flight. You don't even need to add something to that, and that's even easier than pressing a button or coming out there and have maybe 1 or 10 times there's no car available, and then you might miss your flight. But still they can book it, and I think it's what I said earlier. It's different use cases. If you're in a restaurant, you finished your dinner. You don't want to book ahead 1 hour pre-booking time, but also like if you're just going 5 blocks home, you don't care so much about the quality of the car and the driver, what Blacklane stands for. If you're going 70 kilometers to the airport, taking the highway, and you really care about the quality of the car and that it's a safe and decent car, it's a different use case. But typically you don't order that on demand, and you can have peace of mind, but just adding it to your travel. but still you have the freedom to change it or to place the booking with 1 hour lead time. We
Right,
decided
can I
to
come in
yeah,
on that? Sorry,
Yeah, no, go ahead,
I beg your
please.
pardon.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that actually I have a slightly counter view in some respects in that I guess speaking on behalf of our business, we care and care passionately and really still to this day do concentrate in terms of the pre-book element. You're right, different use cases, different scenarios. I guess I speak as building a business here from a partnership space. Our best opportunity with the partnership space, be that OTA, airline, TA, tour operator, we monetize at the point of selling the flight, selling the accommodation. It's the best case when the customer is in buy frame of mind and the solution, the API, the widget, whatever solution's in there, yeah, if we're making that painless, yeah, the conversion is immense. And we would have an average pre-book from a partnerships perspective of 3 months in advance of travel. You can face many amendments and cancellations, of course, but it's the best attach rate for us where the partners really start to commercialize this product, to monetize this product. But one of the big things, sorry, from a development perspective, Kev, I'm probably short on time here, but I think what's interesting within the sector right now, I think when we were born, I think maybe when we helped to create a pre-bookable ride sector those 16 years ago, it was all about getting you from the airport you're arriving into to your hotel, to your office, yeah? And from a partnerships perspective again, there's just so much more monetization opportunity right now. It's not a 2-leg opportunity, there's a 4-leg opportunity minimum in terms of home or office to departure airport, and the inverse of course. But then what we're selling on board with Wi-Fi where it exists on aircraft right now, what we're selling in departure lounge, it's just infinite the amount of journeys, the restaurant use case as an example, that can be taken here.
Okay.
And partners should really embrace this.
Okay, and we'll finish
Forget
with
those tours and activities, Kev. Ground transportation rules.
You heard it here
absolutely.
first, ladies and gents. But I mean, last of all, Sascha, a year ago, Uber was almost on its knees. And I just wonder if you could just give us a sense of what do you think the new CEO is doing and whether the company is probably on the turnaround now. I suspect most people seem to think it is. But I mean, Uber is an obvious competitor to you. But I
don't know him personally, so
No,
I cannot judge him as a CEO. I heard good things about him. I think we are so busy with our own growth that we're not that much looking into something like Uber, and we would not consider Uber as a direct competitor of us. They're playing in that inner city mobility, like making short distance rides cheaper and cheaper, and I think they are more developing into a technology platform, adding bicycles to that, predicting if the bus is on time or not. While we are going to, we know that our sweet spot for the service is the medium to long distance, going to the airport, traveling between cities where really the quality of our service pays off. And then it's like a rather complementary service. We understand ourselves bringing customers from the airport to the city. They use different kinds of modes of transportation in the cities. And that could be Uber, that could be taxi, but we are serving them on the medium to long distance, so I wouldn't consider them as a direct competitor.
Okay, right. Sascha and Ian, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.